Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Steve, and in today's episode of Power Gauntlet, I'm interviewing the voice of Heartman from Death Stranding. That's right, Mr. Darren Jacobs. If you guys don't know what Death Stranding is, and then you probably don't know what that baby is back there. That is a BB. So as you guys know, I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan, a big Hideo Kojima fan, and when I heard that he was making a game that involved ghosts and BBs and all this other thing, I just shut off my brain and I said, where do I put my money? So when Darren agreed to come on, I was over the moon. I was ecstatic. This episode, we talk about how Darren became a voice actor, different roles that he's played in, what it's like working with Hideo Kojima, and all of that. So enough of this intro. Let's go ahead and start the episode.
You're listening to Power Gauntlet. Power Gauntlet. The podcast dedicated to nerd culture, hosted by Steve Papa. If you're looking for copious amounts of stupidity sprinkled with clever banter while discussing everything from video games to Star Wars, well, this is the show for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Power Gauntlet.
In the studio today, I bring you a very special guest. I have the voice of Heartman from Hideo Kojima's latest game, Death Stranding. Please welcome Darren Jacobs. Hey, Darren, thanks for coming on this episode.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
You do the voice of Heartman, and you did a spectacular job. And I really wanted to reach out to you to give my praise to you because it was absolutely amazing. What actors and voice actors can do nowadays in games.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, I truly appreciate it. And the response I've had from all the people has been just mind-blowing. It's overwhelming. And I really am thankful that, that Heartman and what I did as a little part of this project has been taken so well. And, thank you so much for saying that.
Not a problem at all. I mean, it was a spectacular game, and not a game that I'm really used to. Are you a big gamer, first of all?
I used to be when I was a kid. It was too much though, because it was distracted. It was detracting from all the stuff that I was doing. So I pulled away from gaming, but I still did Dungeons and Dragons and all that kind of stuff. But I did get I got an original Xbox, and then last year I pulled it out to play some games, and it didn't work anymore, and I was I was distraught. And then no, actually it was the year before, and then I bought another Xbox, and then I booked this job, and so I had to buy a PlayStation as well.
They didn't even gift you one; you had to go buy it.
No, I wish.
So how did you get started into the whole voice acting and acting gig?
It was an accident. I actually trained in London. I'm from the north of England, and I trained in London because I got a scholarship to study for 3 years, and in acting, just theatre and performing arts, and in basically everything. I did singing, dancing, acting, and written. I trained to be a critic as well, like a theatre critic. One of my professors was the head dance critic for the New York Times, and
oh wow,
he wanted me to be a critic because I did a special dissertation on Disney and the use of nature and nurture and dance, and he saw something in it. He wanted me to be a critic. I was like, no, I want to be a performer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went off and did that, and I did a lot of theatre and West End, and toured around the world, and then did Shakespeare at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and lots of things like that, and dancing with Matthew Bourne. And then I decided that I wanted to learn some more skills that I've never really worked on, which was voiceover and commercial and screen acting. So I got a scholarship to study in New York, and it was there that they said to me, you have a real talent for voiceover. And honestly, I swear, I'd never thought about it. I'd never thought about doing voiceover at all. And they kind of put this little seed into my head. And I just started there. I got my visa and came over to America, and I started booking jobs pretty much straight away. And then it just went from there.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Do you have?
it was all accident.
Do you have that thing where I know it happens to me now that I've been recording for a few months now, where I hate my voice? Do you get that sometimes too?
Oh, yes, absolutely. But I hate listening to my voice. But the thing is, you have to get used to it. It's like, as an actor, I watch my, like if I go to a premiere or something like that and I watch myself, I'll go with a notebook, or I'll write notes in my phone of things that I don't like or things that I could do better when I'm watching it. Because I think you have to, unless you've got like, I know some people can't watch themselves, literally cannot watch themselves. But for me, I force myself to, or listen to myself to improve. And I find that I can direct myself better by a lot of the time listening and listening and listening. But yeah, I hate it. I hate listening to myself.
So so you had to audition for the role in Death Stranding. Did you like practice the script over and over again? You're just listening. You're like, God, I don't know if I like this at all. Or how did that whole process work?
There's a whole big story behind this one, because I got the audition through. It was all code named. I think it was called Chiral was the code name, and so nobody actually knew what it was about. And it was so funny. One of my friends, Amy Louise Pemberton, she's the voice of Gideon in Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
She was saying, after I actually auditioned it, I did the voiceover for it first of all, and was just about to send it off when I realized it was actually a self-tape. So I had to go on tape for it, which is very, like, really unusual to do. So I was like, what? And I was in such a rush. So I was really bummed, because I'd done a really good audition, a really good voice audition. So I was madly, because then I had to learn the lines, because you can't just read it. You have to learn the lines, because you're going to be on camera. So I was running around, setting everything up, getting dressed and doing my hair and learning the lines. And it was all techno babble. So it was really, really difficult. And I had no time to prepare, no time to do anything. I just had to get it down and send it off. And I told my friend Amy this, and she went, "Oh, that's funny, because Tommy L. Jenkins, he had an audition like that recently, and it's really unusual to have a self-tape." And I was like, "Oh, right, okay." Because I know Tommy.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask that.
Yeah, it was so funny, and neither of us knew we were going up for the same thing. Neither of us knew anything about it. And then I actually got a call back about a week later, and with all these notes from the director, and it piqued my interest. And I was like, "This seems, I don't know what it is." And I started looking into it more, and then looking into it. And I just had this inkling that it was Death Stranding. And so it kind of ticked all these boxes for Death Stranding. And that changed everything. I was so specific. I spent so much time on it, learning my lines and riffing stuff, improvising little bits into the script as well to make it different and to make it stand out. And because in the audition, he had narcolepsy and he'd fall asleep. So I kind of was doing all this stuff. And then, 2 days later, I found out that I booked the job and that it was Death Stranding.
Oh, wow.
So, I flipped then. But what's terrible is I couldn't tell anybody, because there's all these NDAs and it's all a secret. So I was like, no.
Right. This is, it's a huge project. Did you know anything about Hideo Kojima before Death Stranding?
I did. I knew of his games, but I didn't know Hideo Kojima per se. I knew all of his games in Silent Hill and that he was going to do that, and the Metal Gear Solid, but I didn't know him. So when I really researched into it, I kind of found out more about him and who he was and the huge following that he has, and that kind of made me nervous. I don't really get nervous much anymore, but that really did make me nervous, because you're working with the caliber of people, though,
right,
that you're working with. It was kind of insane.
Yeah, I mean, the caliber of actors that were on that game specifically, and it's crazy to think that video games have come this far, in this
Oh
whole day and
yeah,
age where you get these A-list celebrities and then
yeah,
they're working hand in hand with, one of the most famous game directors of all time, just to
yeah.
bring this product to the masses is pretty incredible.
It's insane how it's developed
Hmm.
so much. It's funny. Some people have asked me about do I find it weird like having Nicholas Winding Refn's face and my voice, and I say not really, because for years we've had our avatars, our caricatures, and our little characters with your voice on it.
Hmm.
It feels a bit weird knowing that that's Nicholas Winding Refn, the person.
Yeah.
But that's the only weird thing. But it's crazy that you've got Guillermo del Toro, Nicholas, in these games now, that we've actually progressed to such a level that they're in it. It's crazy.
Did you get starstruck when you met Hideo Kojima, like for the first time? Like, how did that experience go?
Uh, well, that's another story as well. They asked me to go down to Santa Monica Studios to meet with them on some pickups.
Mhm.
So I rolled up to the studios, and I went to the security guard and I was like, "Hey, my name's Darren Jacobs," and he was like, "Oh yeah, go through there." And then an assistant came over and he was like, "Hello." He's like, "Yeah, I'm here to meet with Hideo Kojima." He was like, "Oh," right." I said, I'm one of the characters," and I said the name of the character that I'd first auditioned, and he was like, and he looked at me blankly, and I was like, "Oh, in the second script, I was given this character,"
Uh-huh.
and they looked at me blankly again, and I went, "He has narcolepsy and he falls asleep every 21 minutes." He went, "Oh, you're Heartman." And he went, "And you don't have narcolepsy, you die." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then he took me through, and it was a huge soundstage where there was like hordes of people all doing stuff. And Mads Mikkelsen was in the center, and they were filming, so I had to be super quiet, and I snuck around the side. And it was filming this, the iconic scene with him and all the soldiers going
Mhm.
forwards. And he was filming that as I walked in, and it was insane, to see that and see all these people working together, and Hideo directing and using an interpreter to direct them and explain exactly what he wanted. And there was all cameras, so many cameras, and it was honestly it was magical to watch it, because they were literally doing one of the most famous scenes from the game as I walked in.
Right. And then you get to see that behind the
Yeah.
scenes and then see it in the game as you played through it. And you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was standing
Yeah.
right there in the background.
It's crazy, and I know exactly where I was sat.
So
Yes.
when you read through that script initially, what were your thoughts? Because, I mean, playing through the game, I was confused just going as the game was being presented. I assume reading through the script, you're like, what am I talking about? What is Hartman talking here? Like, what's happening?
Well, whatever you think going through the game, I was confused 20 times more than you guys, because we didn't get a script. What happens is
Okay.
it's like Splinter Cells. We're all given our own little scripts. So I knew going through the game what happened with me and my character and what I was saying. So I knew the end story. Because there's a scene at the end where I'm explaining some things. So I knew that, but I didn't know any of the plot. I didn't know any of the other characters' things, unless they interacted with me. And what was great though was we had a team of people who were there to help me explain what the words meant and
Mhm.
what was going on and all these other things. Honestly, it was so much fun, but which meant that that's why Hideo first of all wanted to meet with me, because he wanted me to understand about my character, so that I could be comfortable in any situation where I could be put there, and then my character can react to what's going on and what's happening in the script solidly.
Mhm.
So he was making sure that I could be able to do that when I was thrown into the thick of it. And
Yeah.
literally, yeah, because it's crazy. I had all these words, and I'm like, "What's that again? What's that one?" Okay. And what's funny, it's so funny because people quote things to me that I say, but when I'm in the studio and I'm in my session and I'm just saying them, it's just another line and it's not really in context. So I'll just say it. And it's not until I saw the video game that I understood the power behind that sentence or what it was doing. So just then I was saying it. And then in the situation, you go, oh, wow, that is really good. That, it's mind blowing, actually, some of the things that all the characters come out with. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's your character is pretty unique when it comes to the game because you have like a big part of the story where you're actually interacting with Sam Porter.
Yeah.
And it's weird that your scenes are all split up like that, where you don't know exactly, aside from what you're going to be recording that day, like it just seems a little weird, but I guess it makes complete sense because you can't really give out the script like that, just in terms of leaks and everything like that.
Oh yeah, you honestly, and they were pretty good in the fact that I was given a little bit of time with the script. Like some of the big movies nowadays, you're not even told this. You're not even given your script until things like Star Wars. You're not given your script until the day. So how you're supposed to learn your lines if you're doing all that, I don't know.
That's why you guys are the professionals, and So you've played through the game, correct?
I have, yes.
So what did you think overall to the entire experience of Death Stranding?
I loved it. I really did. I, honest to God, loved it. From the get go, I knew there was going to be lots of cutscenes. So every time I play in big chunks, and I'd crack up a bottle of wine or get some beers, and I'd sit back and relax and eat some chips while I was watching the cutscenes. But I just loved it. I knew from the get go that I was going to be enthralled. The way that he weaves the story and the music and the sounds and what you have to do all together. I thought it was just mind blowing. There's the very first time when you're going on your first journey and you go over the hill and you go down into Edgenot City. Is it Edgenot City?
Yeah.
The first time, and the music kicks in, and you're like, wow. This is going to be great. And just what I loved more than anything as well, with every chapter, it develops. It doesn't become stagnant. There's something new is brought into the game, a new element, and it ramps up. So it changes so that you don't get bored. I mean, chapter 3 and chapter 5, I think it was, very long ones that you can get stuck in. I loved it. I was doing all the side deliveries and building roads and later on zip lines. I got hooked on doing zip lines.
The zip line feature is pretty crazy. You get really creative with that.
Oh, I had a massive zip line that went pretty much went all the way down. I was super proud of it.
That's good when you can make that connection, like after like hours of work. You're like, okay, this makes my job so much easier going back and forth. Yeah. When describing that game to people that don't really know Death Stranding, I'm like, it's a walking simulator, but it's much more fun than that. Saying it's just you walking around delivering packages doesn't give the game justice.
But it's like saying chess is. I don't know. If you think about chess, how basic that is, or drafts, or Ludo, people love them. I still love them, and it's a different style of game. Just because it's not to somebody's taste doesn't mean it's bad.
Right, exactly. And it's definitely not the style of game I'd be used to. That game I could play it once, and I'm glad I enjoyed that experience. However, I don't think I could go back and play it again. I think it's like one time I'm good, put in 50 hours. That was an amazing experience. I'll put that on the shelf. Maybe I'll come back to it in 10 years, something like that. Yeah. But it's so unique.
Totally understandable.
It's such a unique game. It's not just your normal, space marine shooting aliens. Because that's what a lot of games have come down to. And this one is an actual piece of art.
Yeah, I actually 100% agree with you. It's cerebral, it's thoughtful, it makes you think, but it's emotive as well. Not only it makes you think, it makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can get some amazing cutscenes and an amazing acting in it. But the way that all the different people in the game that have produced this, all the different I can't think of the word. All the different the artists, the actors, the sound developers, the directors, everybody has come together to make this wonderful project. It's like a big working clock with all the little facets and cogs that are all working together to make this one big thing. It's not just one element that's the great thing. It's the whole that I loved about it, that coming together, and that which is synonymous with the actual game. It works exactly with the message behind the game. Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'm so proud that I'm a part of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, going from the cinematography to the score and the performance work that all the actors did, it was wow. This is probably the best, like the most well-made game ever in existence to this point. You know, like this is unbelievable. And I've even played like the God of War game, the newest one, and that one was very thought-provoking and had an amazing story to it. And yeah, this one just topped that. God of War was the best game I played until I played Death Stranding, which says a lot.
I actually haven't played it yet, but I've got it on my PS4, so I'm going to be playing that one. I'm so cool. I'm so pleased because I was doing a project a few years ago, and I was working with Chris Judge, and he was under NDA, so I didn't know that he was working on God of War then. So when I found out, I was like, "What? You didn't tell me!"
You know,
he was a cool dude.
I was a huge Stargate fan. And then just hearing him, I'm like, oh my God, no way. Like,
yeah.
Just hearing him play Kratos, I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. I worked with Tori Higginson as well from Stargate Atlantis. And she is amazing. I love that woman so much. We were on the same, me, Chris, and Tori were on the same project, but Tori and I had a lot of scenes together, and we were just so naughty. We played around so much. We were the two naughty school kids in the back getting told off.
Just getting a bunch of trouble. That's what you are. Just a troublemaker on set. So,
oh gosh.
So when you did performance for Death Stranding, you did the performance capture, right? They did the facial animation with that?
Yes, I did the PCAP. So basically, the voice and all the face and the facial movement is my movement. The mocap was a gentleman that they hired in Tokyo. I think his name is Zega. He did the actual mocap, which was done, I think, about a year and a half before I came on board.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So because what was happening in the US, we were on strike. We had a SAG was on strike, so we couldn't do video games. And they were going to get too far behind, so they used local people in Tokyo. And he's a super nice guy. I've spoken to him a few times, Zega. And that's another thing, like there's so many elements to creating this video game. There's all these people that are a part of it. So kudos to him. Yes, and the PCAP was really interesting, and it was difficult at first because they put all these dots all over your face, and then you wear it's like a bicycle helmet with these big protruding limbs with massive cameras at the front and microphones all over your head, and you're reading the script and it's picking up all of your facial actions, so you have to be you're reading the script pretty much for the first time as well, so you have to be super aware that you're being filmed, and don't be doing crazy gurning. But At first, it was really difficult because it's so cumbersome. You're like, what is going? You've got these things and you can't see, and it's in your way.
Mhm.
But after a few sessions, you get used to it, and you just kind of have to adapt.
So you have a big octopus on your head and you're just trying to act. I can see how that could be.
I casually pretend it's not there.
Did you feel like that, like having to do the facial animations, did that give you a better performance, or does it matter one way or the other if it's just a voiceover, or if it's actual performance capture?
I think that it will lend better to the actual. If your face is going to be in it, then it lends better to it. I don't think it necessarily will make it a better performance. I just think it will make it more layered. And because I know that Hideo, after I did the PCAP, he then went back to animation and the animation itself and made some changes and things like that. Because even though I was given the script, sometimes I could give an opinion and say, hey, so as an English person, we would say this.
Mm-hmm.
And not this, and they were like, okay, and I'd be like, could I change these words around because it just is less clunky, and they were so cool. They were really, really good. We always had Ludwig Forsell. He was always in the booth as well. He's the guy who did all the music, the soundtrack, and he speaks fluent Japanese, so he was translating a lot as well. And he was great, because he knows Hideo-san inside and out, so he knows what he wants and everything. It was very collaborative.
So it wasn't really difficult to take direction from Hideo at all, like because there is a language barrier there.
No, he's got a team of I think he's super smart with his team because he's got a team of people who know him and know how to work with him, and his translator's great. And it's amazing, like the things he can remember. Like, because Hideo will do a huge long speech, and then he'll be saying, the translator will start speaking to you, and I'd be in my head going, how is he remembering all this? That's the speech bubble that's coming out of my head going, wow, that's amazing. I'm not actually listening and going, oh, sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, repeat exactly
so
what you just said.
So I didn't make things easy.
So I could pay attention this time, but I'm just impressed.
Yeah, I know. Oh, sorry.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, but it was that's an entire point of it. It was the team that created this with Hideo leading, tempoing it. It's like the old Diaghilev was a theater producer and dance producer in Russia, and he had Nijinsky and all these amazing people underneath him and directors and actors, but he was the spearhead, the brains behind it, and had all these amazing talent underneath him who then could go off and his generals basically go off and do it. And that's what Hideo's like.
That's pretty interesting. I like that. That's he is very good at his craft. And that definitely shows with all the games that he's made, up until this point. Like, he's very good, very hardworking. He's always in the studio. At least from an outsider's perspective, you would know more about that than I would. But that's what it seems like. He takes a lot of pride in his work, and you can tell just by his cinematography, by his directing, by all the work that he puts in and puts out, and the promoting and everything like that. That's what the game industry needs, is more people like that, that have a passion for gaming, to make this art form progress to the next level, aside from just, jump on this guy, shoot that guy. So, I mean, it's really good. He's great for the industry as a whole, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree with you. There's nothing worse than when any type of craft becomes stagnant. And I'm not saying that it is at the moment, but we were going down that pathway. So we should celebrate somebody who is pumping new blood into this form, this art form. And it is an art form. And that's, especially something like Death Stranding. You might not like every element of it, but you have to agree that it is art. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, you have to appreciate it for sure.
Yeah.
So when you prepared for the role of Heartman, how did you go about doing that? Because you said you thought he was like he would fall asleep from time to time. and then you found out he actually dies every 21 minutes. Is there a way you prepared for that, like to get into the role of it?
Well, that was when I went and met with Hideo. I went and chatted with him. We talked about the character and everything, what he wanted, what his hopes, what his dreams, what his aspirations were, and he wanted me more solid on that side of it. So we chatted for a couple of hours, and then he had to go off to do more work with Mads Mikkelsen, and I was left with Ludwig Forsell to have lunch with him and basically digest everything that they'd said. And I was kind of left numb. I was more confused as well, because when I left Hideo, I was confused. So they knew that would happen, because I think it happened to every actor. So they had to then go away and solidify everything with me. And so for this game, what I did was I really looked into the character, and I looked into, because I knew that I wasn't going to get the script. I knew that I wasn't going to know the plot. I knew I was going to be plonked into these situations. So my anchor was my personality. So when I went in, actually on my very first session, another one. I went in, and my first scene was a shower scene with Norman Reedus, and they said to me, "Oh, you're going to do a shower scene?" And I was like, and I was like, "Oh no, I really am." And I was like, "What is this game?" And it was so funny, but they just showed me a little bit of some other clips as well, and they showed me Deadman, and he had like a medium range voice, and Tommy's voice, which is very lower. And I made Heartman's voice lower originally because I made him have much more gravitas because of the situation. And then when I saw it, I saw the other three main NPCs, for Sam's NPCs. I thought, okay, so I've got to do something different here. So I said to the team, and I was in the booth, and everybody else was in the room next door, looking through a window. And I was like, "Hey guys, is there any chance that I can take him up just a notch, make him a little bit higher as well?" And I like the idea that he's been away from people for so long that he's a little bit stammery, and will say things that you're not really sure that it should say. And they were like, "We love it, love it, love it." And especially because when he says the stuff about the 21-minute cycle and what you can do in it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, people don't say that. And I was like, this is perfect, because he's been away for so long, because time is different on the beach. So it might be 3 minutes in Earth time, but on the beach, time is a lot longer. So he spends a heck of a lot of time away from everybody, alone, isolated. And his social skills are terrible, so which makes him charming. And I was asking them that. I said, let's make him a nice, quirky, fun, upbeat, because it's so interesting with Heartman that he has a horrendous backstory. It's so sad, but he is always optimistic. And he's always looking for the answers. He's always doing this. There's only one line when he says, "I'm not looking to fix the future. I'm looking to fix the past," something like that. Mm-hmm. And which is so heartbreaking for him, because fixing the past is basically finding his wife and his child again. And which, if you think about it, he's been looking for years. Yeah. With the time difference. And that's so sad. So his strength was his optimism and his unwavering belief in keeping going out there and finding them and moving forwards. Mm-hmm. Which, the way that he sets up his mountain pad, yeah, he adapts to every situation.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty nice mansion. I have to I have to give him that.
I know, I love it. I was like, can I have this? I want to live there.
That would be pretty nice if we could all live there.
Yeah.
Do you did you try to replicate that 21-minute cycle ever to get into character at all? I think that would be pretty funny if you just stop for 3 minutes. During this podcast, we just stopped and just didn't talk.
I should do, actually. I should. I'm joking about it sometimes with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, sorry, I'm dead now. I've got you got to wait 3 minutes. But I've never done it.
That would be pretty good.
I don't think the people in the session would appreciate me. Toppling over.
Just all right, break time.
Yeah.
Get a nice.
Actually, it was pretty good. I should say that in my contract.
Yeah,
every 21 minutes, I have to have a break.
That's union rules right there. You have to.
Exactly.
That's what you bargained for.
Yeah.
So we never really got closure on Heartman's character, on his story arc. Everyone else pretty much had a redemption to everything. Do you think Heartman is still looking for his family, or do you think he's accepted their fate and they're gone?
So there is I have never got the email, but there was an email that he says after you finish the game that you get that says that he actually finds somebody else. But as I wasn't part of that, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I would love to be able to explore more with Heartman, because I just think he's such a fascinating character, and through the Death Stranding, it's created more questions with Heartman than answers. So I really would. I'd love there to be more development. And I'd love there to be more. I think all of us would, because we had such a good time on Death Stranding. I honestly did. I promise you, I would look forward to going into the studios and working on it so much. It was great. I was talking to Tommy about it recently, and we were both just talking about the good times that we had and how much fun it was. You're very lucky to get to book a job and really enjoy it. And I did. Hand on heart, I had so much fun. And I would be in stitches with all the crew, because we'd have a laugh and a joke, and while we're in studio and working really hard, but having just as much fun. Yeah. So I'd love. I honestly don't know what is going to happen, or what resolution there is with Heartman, or if it's going to go forward or whatever. But I do know that I would hands down jump on board if it was to go forward.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait for Death Stranding 2, because it's probably going to be coming out. I know you can't say anything unless you want to say something. No.
I wish I could, but even if I could, I am not allowed to.
Well, I'll just take that as there is no Death Stranding 2 coming, and I'll just keep my expectations low.
You could say whatever you want. You're not trapping me, mate.
So, aside from Death Stranding and everything like that, is there different franchises that you want to be a part of when it comes to more mocap, PCAP, everything like that, or just even any voiceover? Is there anything, any video game franchises or movie franchises that you want to be a part of?
Oh, there's so many. I always wanted to do Star Wars, and I auditioned for Star Wars Clone Wars a couple of years ago, and that was another code one, but because I know Star Wars so well, and I knew it was Star Wars, and I flipped. It was like I'd booked the job just getting the audition.
Yeah, just because you wanted to get through that process.
But I'd love to do Star Wars. I'd love to do Final Fantasy. I'd love to do anything from Sony Santa Monica and PlayStation, because I had such a great time with them. What else? Like God of War, like I said. TV and film. I'd love to do Star Trek, the Star Trek series. in any, like Discovery. I have a few friends on Discovery. Doug Jones is in that. I'd love to be on that show, or the new Picard, which I saw the first episode of and I loved it. I'm a huge sci-fi fan and fantasy fan, but there was an audition that I did recently. It was I was really bummed about that because I got really close to booking it, and it was a limited graphic novel, a very well known one that I got down to the last couple for, and I obviously didn't book it, but I really wanted that one because I know it's going to be good,
Yeah.
and I could have done so much with it.
Don't get your hopes up.
I'm shaking my fist.
Just shaking it at the
air.
Well,
so that's worse when you get so close, and yeah.
I mean, this game has been huge. So, I mean, I only assume more and more opportunities are going to be coming out of the woodwork, whether you're expecting them or not, because this is a huge, massive game, massive appeal, so much behind it, and you did great work. I mean, you've got the voice. As if you hate your voice, which I know you say you do, you've got a great voice. Like, it's just really good. I could definitely see you playing like an elf in a D&D TV show or just something like that, like a bard or whatever, Like, I can see that, like in the new Witcher series. Maybe we'll replace the bard and we'll get you in there.
Let's put that. Let's get that out there.
Let's get that. We'll get that trending. Get that hashtag started. Darren for Bard.
I know they're doing D&D going behind a lot of Forgotten Realms. Because when I was at the Video Game Awards, they had a trailer for that there, and it looked like it was Drist and Bruno from the Icewind Dale trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Canterbury and all that, I would love to be in that, to be a part of that, because those are the books that I read when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I have more of a fondness and an inkling to do those kind of things, the things that when you were a kid that meant so much to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to work on those ones. But saying that, there's so much good stuff at the moment. I can't say actually because I auditioned for that one, so I can't say that. But there's so many good ones.
There's going to be plenty of stuff, especially with EA making these Star Wars games and the Old Republic and everything like that. Definitely, I mean, there's going to be games where there's going to be a lot of story being implemented in these things. So I could definitely see you. See you doing that.
I would love to. So yeah, definitely. We'll see. I do have some projects that are in the pipeline, and a couple that are coming up in a couple of months that I start on. So, which I can't say, unfortunately. But I think they're going to be really fun, actually. So I can't wait for that as well.
Yeah, my buddies watched Ford versus Ferrari. What do you guys call it over in the UK?
I think it's called Le Mans 66. Because that was the original title in America, Le Mans 66, and then they turned it to Ford versus Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
But that was amazing to do that. When I did that, I was down at the Fox. I think we filmed on the Fox studio with a big 50-foot screen in front of me, and me just with the little stand and a microphone and a big 50-foot screen, and they had all the sound effects and everything. And then I had to put on my voice to it because I'm the main commentator for the last third of the movie. It's all me.
I haven't seen it, and I was supposed to go in the theaters and watch it. And I told my buddy that I was setting up this podcast today, and he goes, "Dude, the Blu-ray's coming out next week. We have to watch it." And I'm like, "Yes, I will be over. We're going to watch it. It's going to be great."
You should. It's really. I knew it was going to be good when I was in the studio doing actually recording it because it was captivating, and I was only getting snippets of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I went to the cinema and I actually watched it, honestly, it was fantastic. The acting, everything was really, really good again. I was super. The Le Mans section starts with a French voiceover, and I was like, oh no, they've cut me out and they've put somebody else in, which often happens.
I was gonna say, does that happen a lot?
Sorry,
I said, does that happen a lot? Where you?
Oh yeah. I did I did one film, and I was in it all the way up until I even went the Saturday before it opened up in Leicester Square. We went to a private screening of it, and I even made it to that one. It was a scene. And then it came out in the cinema, and I told all my friends, and my friends went to see it, and they went, "Oh yeah, we saw you." I was like, "Well, what was the scene like?" They went, "Yeah, we saw you." I was like, "Yeah, but what was my scene like?" And they're like, "There is no scene." I was like, "No," and it being cut again, which I understood why, because it was a storyline plot thing that they cut that scene because it went against the storyline at the end. They wanted a nice happy ending, so I completely get it. But I was like, why every time? So I thought that had happened with Ford versus Ferrari, but then I'm all the way through the movie at the end, so that's cool.
I'm gonna be excited when I watch it. Have you ever had like someone, since Death Stranding came out and Ford vs Ferrari, has anyone like stopped and looked at you like, do I know you? Like, did they recognize your voice at all or no?
Well, there's been a couple of things. I was in a bar, a Mexican bar, having some margaritas. So I'd had one or two of them, or three or four. And there's a guy walks in and sits at the bar just a few down from us, and he had a Death Stranding T-shirt on. And my friends were like nudging, going, "Oh, look." And the guy looked, he was like, "What?" And he goes, "He's Heartman." And then, so the guy freaks out and he's like, "Oh my God." So I went bright red and really embarrassed. And yeah. But I did, one of my friends introduced me to a casting director, which was funny. And she did voiceover of casting director. And I could tell she was like, "Oh, like not really interested. Hey, nice to meet you." And she said, what you on at the moment? I said, "Oh, I've just done Death Stranding." Well, she was like, "Oh, well, what did you do?" And I said, "I was Heartman." I swear her jaw hit the floor. And she's like, "I'm playing that game right now." She said, "Can I get a picture with you?" So I was like, yeah. So it was really funny. I get really embarrassed. So I was like, yeah, of course.
See, she made a crucial mistake. She took a picture with you. She should have had you do her voicemail, message.
Oh yeah.
See?
That's a good idea, actually. I think I might change my voicemail on my phone. That's a good idea. I've not done that. Thank you.
No, not a problem. Hey, Death Stranding is all about connecting people and bringing people together. So there you go.
Yeah.
So in closing, now that we've played Death Stranding, people that listen to this podcast probably have played through it a few times. How can the theme of Death Stranding help us in our own lives in today's climate? We're going to bring it deep now.
It's very deep. Hideo, it was very purposeful of what he did. It was a political and sociological statement of what he's doing at the moment. It is mirroring our current climate, that we've got all this technology and we're moving forward, but it's also isolating us so much more. I really do think as one people, as human beings, we need to connect more nowadays. I find it sad that we are building walls instead of ladders. Pun intended. But I really think that there's a message that we're forgetting just to be nice to one another, to help one another. People are looking, supposedly looking inwards, but you're looking too far inwards. Look out at other people as well. Don't just look for yourself. Look for other people. Be nice to people. Smile at people. I think we have to do that because we're going down such a scary pathway, and it's all doom and gloom and lies and BS and all this lot. So I just think be good, or try to be.
Yeah. That's all we can do, man. We can come together, help each other out, and that's what's going to help us move forward. I like that message. I like that's what Hideo, at least that's what I think he was trying to portray in his game. And just do a little bit better each day, and then hopefully we don't go down that path, that dark one. So
exactly.
Well, Darren, thank you for coming on. I appreciate everything. I appreciate you taking your time to come and talk to me.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. It's been a pleasure. It's been so much fun.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Power Gauntlet. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit frozengorillas.com for all of your Power Gauntlet and Blue Light special merch.